Hello everyone, welcome to the updated Power Patron Guide. I'm revisiting this deck because the TCG exclusive team decided to give this deck a new card, basically. And it is really good, so I'm excited to talk about it. There's also some other things I want to go into. This deck's actually gaining a lot of popularity amongst players, so there's been new developments made in it, which is cool, so I'm excited to go into those. And I have also just come to some new conclusions about things you can play and just things about the deck in general, so I want to talk about those as well. So let's get into it. I'm not going to re-explain what all of the cards I went over in the last video do. If you want to know what they do, check out the last video. Think of this as like part 2 of that video. But I am still keeping the list at 50 cards. I think 50 is still correct considering the amount of cards you don't really want to draw in this deck. Plus, it gives you a ridiculous amount of non-engine to play. Your consistency really isn't hurt that much. None of your starters you really want to see above any of your other starters. They're all kind of good in their own different way. It all just feels really strong. Along with that, I think this gives you the ability to play some cards that you would otherwise not want to play. Certain things like bricks, like Doomsday Destruction, feel a lot less bad in 50 over something like 40. And again, it lets you play just every good non-engine card you could think of. This is pretty much every non-engine card I think is good enough to be playing right now, other than maybe like Droll and Lockbird. So let's move to the changes in the list. The first is playing 3 Nervado. In the last list, I played 2. The reason I bumped this to 3 is because I've come to the realization, / other people have come to the realization, that this card is a starter, kinda. So if you open Nervado plus any spell trap, you can tribute the Nervado in hand, along with any spell trap, to summon Archmage Non-Finito. And then Non-Finito can set a card I kind of overlooked in the last video, which is the Archmage Vandalism Assault. Basically, the only relevant text on this card is that on activation, you can add a Medius the Pure from your deck to your hand. So this allows you to go from non-finito straight into Medius into full combo from there, which is really, really strong. It does mean you aren't going to be able to set the recapture, which is unfortunate, but it's not a huge deal. Especially if it means Nervado can combo on its own, which is really strong. Of course, you have to open a spell trap, but that's not like a huge deal. And notably, you can get there without needing Nervado's effect as well. These cards just do so much that you just kind of get there anyway. And that also goes into playing the 1 Assault. This card's also just a starter, so playing this 1 of isn't really adding a brick to the deck. It's just more consistency, which is really good. Also, playing this card as a 1 of feels a lot less bad in 50, since you're not likely to open this card plus your Medius already. Or you're less likely, at least. We're still keeping 2 and 2 of the other Power Patrons, because you don't really want to draw them, unlike Nervado, who can start combos. These two don't, especially Ginordo, who doesn't even, like, extend with other cards like Fallen and the Virtuous, so don't really want to play more than these. All this stays the same. The one thing I will talk about is Vidria, the field spell. Most lists I've seen online are playing 1 of this card, and I understand why. It's a starter that requires you to banish a card from your hand. That feels bad. Also, it's a field spell, so it's very vulnerable to removal. That being said, I think Vidria has a really important use in this deck that other starters don't really do, and that's that this card allows you to play around Droll, which is something a lot of your other starters just can't do outside of exactly Medius. Vidria allows you to summon Nervado straight from the deck, which is really, really strong because you can then, if you have any spell trap in hand, tribute the Nervado on field to summon Non-Finito, and then Non-Finito can set the Archmage Recapture from your deck. So you can then go Nervado summon Zagrado, which can go full combo by itself, and then you also have Recapture to negate monster effects. So if your opponent would Droll you after that, you can just negate it with the Recapture. So that just beats Droll and Lockbird on its own, which is great. Medius also does the exact same thing as long as you have another spell trap in hand, since you can tribute the Nervado, summon the Non-Finito, and then do the exact same play. Really strong stuff. But you need to open one of these 2 cards in order to do that play, which is why I think they're both worth playing. And going first, I think Vidria is arguably your best extender anyway, so I really think you should be playing 3 of this card. You would certainly probably side it out post-side, or not side it out completely, but side out 2 copies post-side. But I think it's good enough going first that you should be probably maining 3 of it. And then we move on to the new card, Shade the Obscure, and this card is so good. I'll get into the one downside with this card first, and it's its scale effect. You cannot pendulum summon except pendulum monsters. I will be real, this isn't a huge deal. Mostly you're only ever going to be summoning your Power Patrons. This does mean you can't pendulum summon Medius or, more importantly, hand traps. which does matter sometimes. The extra bodies could be a big deal. If you draw like a Fuwalos, it can help you extend into Deactorus, or just any amount of hand traps can help you extend into Link plays that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. But it's not a huge deal, and I don't think that's remotely a big enough downside to, care all that much. And then if a monster with 1,000 or less attack is special summoned, you can return this card to the hand. That's really good because you want to be summoning this from your hand with its monster effects, which we'll now get into. If you have a card in your Pendulum Zone and this card is in your hand, you can summon this to the field. Really good since all of your power patrons can just scale themselves, and then you can summon this guy, and then you use his on-field effect to destroy a Pendulum monster card in your hand or field, to then add a Pendulum monster from your deck to your face-up extra deck. So that's insane considering all the power patrons trigger when sent to the extra deck. So the best play you can do with this is scale one of your power patrons, ideally one of the ones that aren't starters, and then summon this, and then use its effect to pop that power patron, because keep in mind it says Pendulum Monster card, so it can pop scales, and then pop that monster, and then place something like a Vidolium, or a Zagredo, or a Nervado into your extra deck, triggering both monsters on resolution. That's really, really powerful, so this is a great extender, but also it can pop itself. So you can summon this, destroy itself, and then put something like a Vidolium or an Nervado into your extra deck to trigger its effect. So this is not only an extender, it's also a starter with just itself by normal summoning it and then popping itself, which is just so good. It means you can very easily play 3 of this card without any worry, since worst case scenario, you can just normal this, pop it, and then get your plays off to the races, which feels really good. My only real gripe with this card is that you can't summon it just if you control a Pendulum Monster card. So if you have a Pendulum Monster just on your field, you can't summon this for free, which kind of sucks in some situations. But it's not a huge deal. It's just like a small drawback. But also, important things about this card is its type, attribute, and scale. Notably, this card is a Dark Fairy, so you can search it with your Terminus, which is a huge deal. It means this card's really easy to implement into your lines. It's also a scale 11, so it can replace Vidolium in a lot of your combos as your high scale, and it is a level 4, so we no longer have to play the Power Patron Doomsday in order to make Deactorus, since now we can get to Medius, and then also get to Shade, and that is our 2 level 4s to make Deactorus. So we have gone ahead and cut the Doomsday Power Patron, which feels really nice, getting to cut down on bricks, while adding starters and extenders. Feels so good. So this card's great. Really does change the deck. It also allows you to do some really interesting other Pendulum plays. There's a world where you use this card to set up something like a Majesty Pegasus to search any field spell, usually Secret Village, or you can put in a Morphage Sloth in your extra deck, which you can then summon with something like an Exceed the Pendulum. Really strong stuff. I love this card. I think it's really, really strong. I think it's going to revolutionize how Pendulum decks play in the future, and by future I mean now. So really look into this card if you want to play this deck. It's so, so, so strong. After that, we've got the 3 Pendulum Treasure, and then the same cards we played last time. I want to talk about Doomsday Destruction real quick, and why I'm playing this over something like the Archmage Finmel that some people have played, which I'm realizing I didn't put into the side deck. I probably should have, which I will explain that card later, or at least the line you do with that card later. But the Doomsday Destruction, I think, is the best going first option you can play in this deck, because locking your opponent out of searching right now is so powerful. Not letting your opponent use their Cool Tune Synchros is really good. Not letting your opponent use most of their Elf Note cards is really good. Every deck right now needs to be searching a lot of cards, and this card stops that. Not only does it stop it, it's also a trap card. So your opponent is going to really struggle to interact with this card with a lot of the same cards that will interact with the rest of your board. Bare minimum, let's say you get like Dark Ruler Nomord, which in theory should be a good card against this deck. You're still going to have Doomsday Destruction and Archmage Recapture to work with. So your opponent still has to be a Monster Negate and no searching. So good luck. Really, the only cards that are super good into this card that other decks might be playing is Fallen and the Virtuous and MSTs off of something like a Radiant Typhoon Vision, or if you just play against Radiant Typhoon, they'll likely have them. That's really kind of it. No other decks really have super easy outs to this card, outside of outing like the Xyz monster itself that it's equipped to, which there are some easier ways to do. Something like a Lava Golem could do it, but it's still a really powerful card. I think it's resilient enough that you should probably be going with this as your extra end board piece for the deck. After that, we've got 22 non-engine, and the only interesting thing I want to talk about is the added non-engine I put in here of the Dominus traps. Something I totally overlooked in the last video is that this deck can absolutely play Dominus Impulse and Dominus Spark. This deck really only needs dark monsters to do its thing, especially going second. All of your main deck guys are dark monsters. Most of your important extract monsters are dark monsters, Beyond the Pendulum, Varudros, SP, Access Code, stuff like that. They're all darks, so you don't really care that much about the locks on these cards. Really, the worst thing is that Spark can lock you out of, like, Junora's effect, which is kind of annoying, and, like, both cards lock you out of Non-Finito, which is probably the biggest thing, so Nervado's no longer a starter, but it's not really that big a deal, and these cards are way worth it over that small downside. Both these cards are crazy strong, and a big selling point of decks right now is what kind of broken hand traps they can run, so this deck being able to run two of the best is really good. After that, we've got our extra deck, which looks mostly the same. There's a couple differences. I added Exceed and Access Code because Exceed has a lot of utility in this deck that I totally overlooked. Being able to summon back your guys is really good in the grind game. Being able to add back your guys is really good in the grind game. And obviously, this card sets up Access Code Talker, which helps a lot going second. Both these cards are really good. I think they're both really important options to have. Definitely should be running Exceed at the minimum. This card does so much for the deck in theory. And there's also some lines where, like under Droll and stuff, where you're going to want to be able to use this card to get a scale that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Just some little things that matter with this card. It also has a lot of nice synergy with Shade as well, since you can put something into your extra deck and then add that card back. And then on to the next card that's different, we've got Zeus, Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. This card, while being good for just Xyzing on top of another Xyz, something like your Jupiter, which admittedly doesn't matter that much because you won't have 2 material on it, but more importantly, something like a Varudros, or especially the Doom Z guys, since you make 2 of them, these can Xyz on top of each other and give you a decently sized Zeus. What is more important is that this card takes 2 level 12s, and right now Cool Tune is a top deck, which has back-to-back, which can bump 2 of your monsters up by, or can bump all of your monsters up by 2 levels. So all of your level 10 power patrons will become level 12. So that lets you just hard make Zeus, which is really funny and honestly kind of super real. Maybe this is totally cope, but I think this is a really good option into Cool Tune exactly. Although you don't have to play this card, I think it's just a really nice going second option into Cool Tune if they're dumb enough to let you do that. Another thing is we replaced Garura with Predaplant Dragostapelia. The reason I did that is, one, Dragostapelia has effects on it, which is good, but also it is more likely that you're going to end with Non-Finito and a dark monster on your end board than getting to Nerva every single time, because you can only really fuse Non-Finito with Nerva if all you play is Garura. With Dragostapelia, all you need is Non-Finito and any dark, which is the majority of your deck. So this card is live way more often. It has better effects on your opponent's turn than Garura does. This card is just better in like pretty much every way. Definitely play Dragostapelia over Garura. This was a total oversight on my part. And then that's it for the main deck. Onto the side deck. We got the Doomsday Power Patron, which I've explained why we can cut this. That being said, this still isn't the worst card to run. Being able to go like Vidria or Medius, summon this, and then immediately go into the Doomsday cards, which do offer you a lot of removal along with getting you to some combo pieces, is not bad. I don't think it's good enough to warrant running this card, but I would understand if you did. There's also some cool interactions where you can use this to summon something like Jupiter, and then detach a material from Jupiter to summon like a Zagrado from your grave, and then pop a card. There's some cool interactions there. Then we have the 2 Pendulum extra options you could run for the end board, a Morphage Sloth or Majesty Pegasus. These are both fine. I don't think they're like better than the Doomsday Destruction stuff, but I would understand, especially the Secret Village line, I can understand running that, because playing something like Secret Village turns off all of your opponent's board breakers, which is so good if your opponent is running stuff like Dark Ruler or like Droplet Evenly Matched. They can kind of just own you if they have that. So that beats that, which is really strong. And Exceed's a great spellcaster to be ending on. A Morphage Sloth is also good because it can turn off a really powerful card in Super Poly, which is going to be really popular this format, so I do like it a great deal. And then after that, we've got the new Power Patron support coming out in Chaos Origins, which I do want to talk about because it's kind of a big deal. I'll start with the less powerful of the 2 cards first. First off, we got Power Patron Shadows of the End Times. I actually think this card is pretty good. This allows you to summon a Power Patron from your hand, face-up, extract, or grave, then apply these effects depending on the number of different card types you control: Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz. If you control 1, you have to banish face down the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. If you control 2 or more, you get to banish face down 1 card your opponent controls. That's really strong. That doesn't target, so non-targeting banish face down removal is so insanely powerful. Fenrir's a good card for a reason. And then 3, you get to banish face down 1 random card from your opponent's hand. That is also really strong. So if you have 3 extra deck monsters, 3 different extra deck types in your board, you get to basically go make your opponent go -2 in terms of card advantage, which is crazy. But even better is that this is super easy to set up on your basic combo. Your basic combo is going to be ending on a fusion, usually non-finito, an Ixies, usually Varudross, and you will be able to go through a synchro with Junordo into Junora. So you can just detach Junora from your Varudross, as you usually will, and then you can summon it back with the Power Patron Shadows in order to then have your 3 monster types on the board and then get to banishing. This card is really solid in that regard. I think this is a really good going first option for the deck. I don't know if decks will main deck this card because it is another brick you'd have to play, but it is really powerful, and I could definitely see this being played in the side deck at the bare minimum. It also layers your board more, which is always good. After that, we've got a card that I think is less good, Dead End Power Patron Realm Varia. Basically, you reveal all 3 of your Power Patrons from wherever, extra deck, face up, field, or grave, and then your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your Power Patron monster effects for the rest of the turn. I don't think that's good enough for a few reasons. The first and main one is that it doesn't protect all of your Power Patron effects. It just protects monsters. So it doesn't work with your spells, which are kind of vulnerable. Something like Terminus is a bit of a choke point. But more importantly, it doesn't protect your scale effects. So if you want to use something like Vidolium's effect to summon from hand or grave, and your opponent can still bell it and keep that monster in your scale, which feels really bad. There's actually a bunch of scenarios that effect doesn't do enough at all. This card definitely has utility, especially going second. Being able to stop your opponent from reacting to certain card effects can be really, really powerful. But like, you have to get to this card. There's no way you're playing 3 of it because it's no misc for sure. And I don't know, like, this card just isn't high enough quality to warrant being played in the deck, in my opinion. Now to the crazy ass card. We've got Power Patron Envoy of Pure Prayers. This card takes 2 non-link monsters. It's a link 2. And if this card is link summoned and you have a Power Patron monster in your grave, you can add a Thea Realize card from your deck to your hand. And then during the main phase, you control another Dark Fairy. You can quick effect link summon using monsters you control, including this card. So it's IP Masquerena, bare minimum. Of course, you have to control Dark Fairy, so it's not that easy to set up, but you certainly have ways to. You can just end on Medius, and that gets the job done. And that allows you to open up some other lines, like making Archmage Deactorus in your opponent's turn, which is kind of cool. But more importantly, this card searches any Thea Realize card. So now all of the Thea Realize cards become theoretical options, which is really good. It means you can use the graveyard effect of these various cards to enable different extra deck plays. So like Thea Realize can be used to modulate any of your guys to any monster type and attribute, which can be really good for setting up something like Fiendsmith by making a guy a Light Fiend, or the Dark Magician stuff by making any of your level 10s a Dark Spellcaster, so you can then go into demod. Super cool stuff you can do with this card. You could also use the Thea Realize Liberation, which you can banish from your grave to make any of your monsters a tuner. There's some cool stuff you can do with that. You can make Zulkin with 2 10s. You can turn Medius into a tuner and then make a Synchro 8 with Shade. A lot of cool little lines you get opened up by this card. There's also Thea Realize Overdrive, which can change any monster's level. Not a huge deal now that we have a second level 4, but could be interesting. Anyway, I think this card's really, really strong. The only downside is that you have to have a Power Patron in your grave, so you do have to kind of set this card up in some awkward ways, but there are ways to do it. You can use Nervado with non-finito in your hand, which will allow you to put it into the grave. You can also use Terminus to send any Power Patron from your deck to the grave. That sets it up super easy. This card's really strong, and what I do like about it is that you can basically go through this really easily in your standard combo by going Medius, summon whoever, and then link those off for this, and then use another body to go into your Beyond the Pendulum, and that's just a ton of value right there. So you love to see it. I think this card's really strong. It might not be as strong as I think it is just because of the fact that a Power Patron has to be engraved, but off the rip, I do think this card's pretty damn strong. Also, keep in mind, you can summon this with the trap card. So you could summon this back with your trap and then have the link effect be online, which is really cool. After that, I've got some other cards that I do want to talk about. Not a lot, really. It's just I want to talk about Archmage Finmel, a card that is being played in lists that I didn't really consider, but actually has some interesting applications. So basically, this is a card you can summon with your Norvado that is an extra really solid interruption, since it allows you to, during the main phase, if you control 3 or more monster card types in the field, or monster types in the field, not monster card types, you can negate the effects of all face-up monster your opponent controls and have their attack. So it's like a full board Forbidden Droplet, which is pretty good. That being said, this card's kind of annoying to get out. It is kind of a starter by the same way Nervado is by making non-finito, which is cool. So it's less bricky than something like Doomsday Destruction, but I think it is so much less powerful and honestly harder to get out. Because the way people are making this card most of the time is by summoning... what is it? They're using Exceed to summon Nervado on the opponent's turn, then using Non-Finito to fuse Nervado and Medius into Deactorus, and then using the Nervado, since it was sent to your extra deck through that, to summon Finmel. That's usually how they're doing it, which is, I think, kind of super, I guess, gimmicky. I think it's like very, I don't know, a lot has to go right for that play to matter, or for that play to work, whereas I prefer being able to just do everything on my own turn with the other line. But I understand the merit behind this card. It's definitely not terrible, and it's not a terrible card to draw either. So it does have it is a better draw than Doomsday Destruction. So I don't think it's bad at all. If you want other options, I think this is a very solid option to add power to your end board. There's also some fusion monsters I didn't really go over. I didn't really talk about in the last video that you could use Medius and a Non-Finito to make Deactorus, who's just an Omni Negate, which is really good. You can also use Non-Finito and Exceed the Pendulum or any other light spellcaster you might have to make Ilias Silvio, which is an Omni Negate, which is really strong. And of course there's Garura, which is what I ran in the last video, which I really don't think is the correct play anymore. I think you have pretty much always better options you could be making. Really, it was just because I was only considering Non-Finito's fusion effect as a way to trigger Nerva, but honestly, there are much better things you could be doing with it, such as Dragos Stapelia, which I still think is the best of those options. Anyway, now I have a couple combos to show off. I want to show off the Medius one-card combo with Shade included. Without using the Doomsday Power Patron, we can end on the exact same board as last time. And I want to show off an Anti-Droll Combo using Vidria. So, let's get into it. So first off, we're going to start with the Medius one-card combo. We're going to normal summon Medius to summon Nervado from the deck. We're then going to use Nervado's effect to banish 3 off the top to summon Nerva. It's going to trigger Nervado to summon Zagrado, and then we're going to link these two off for Beyond the Pendulum. Basically, the same combo as last video. But here's where things get a little... well, no, not here. Things are about to get a little different, because we're going to use Terminus to send Ginordo, insert Shade this time. We're now going to use our 2 monsters to scale them, and then pen summon our Zagrado and our Nervado. We're then going to trigger Shade to add itself back to hand. We're then going to use Shade's effect to summon itself. The reason we didn't use Ginordo's scale effect is that we need to be able to have a monster in the scale for Shade. That being said, you can kind of overlook that if you have any other Pendulum monster in your hand. A Vidolium or a way to another Pendulum monster just gets you there. So this isn't a super big deal. We don't get the draw to in this combo. That's the one downside to it. But admittedly, I don't think the board really needs it. But if you open any extender, you get there anyway. So it's really not a big deal. We're going to add Shade back, and then we're going to summon it with its effect, and we're going to use Shade to pop Ginordo, and then put Vidolium into the extra deck. We're then going to chain 1 Ginordo, chain 2 Vidolium. We're going to add back Terminus and search another Vidolium out of the deck. We're then going to discard Terminus and tribute the Nervado to summon Non-Finito, which will set Recapture. We're then going to scale Vidolium, and then Vidolium's effect is going to summon our Ginordo from the grave. Ginordo is then going to tag out for Junora, and we're going to Xyz our 2 monsters for the Varudros. Then we're going to shuffle back the Beyond the Pendulum, and then use to summon the Medius, and then use Medius and Shade to make Deactorus, and then use Deactorus to make Graflario. And then we're going to use Graflario to search our Doomsday Destruction. And that's the combo. Notably, this also sets up a Fusion, Xyz, and Synchro in a rotation to then summon Vidolium on the next turn. So you get Vidolium, which is just a ridiculous card. You just win the game, basically, once you summon it. But also, this is a really powerful end board. You have Non-Finito, which can fuse into the Dragos Stapelia, which is a negate. You have Nerva, which can, instead of making that negate, board wipe your opponent. So you either have a board wipe or the Dragos Stapelia negate. You have a Rudros Omni negate. You have the Recapture Monster Negate and Destroy. And you have Doomsday Destruction to lock your opponent out of searching cards. It's quite a bit. It's a really powerful board, as we went into last time. I don't really see any deck in the modern format beating this unless they open a really powerful board breaker. Notably as well, if they're not on like, or no, I guess it does work. They could super poly this board, but it really only beats like some of the board. It beats recapture and it beats like the non-finito / Nerva interactions. You still have Rudross, you still have Doomsday Destruction, importantly, so you still have quite a bit going for you. You're very far from out of it if they do that. Now into a combo that I think is really impressive. Other than Fuwalos, Droll is this deck's biggest enemy, especially since it's the only card that actually stops you from building your board. And I'm about to show off how you can just not give a shit about it. So, this is Vidria plus a Spell Trap and any other card in hand. So we're going to activate Vidria. We're going to use Vidria revealing Nerva and then banishing one of the cards in our hand to summon Nervado from the deck. We're then going to tribute Nervado and discard the Spell Trap to summon Non-Finito. We're then going to also chain block the Nervado effect with Non-Finito's set effect, which you can't really interact with. So there's nothing they can hand trap here. We then get to summon the Zagrado with the Nervado and set the recapture, so now we are immune to getting hand trapped, or at least immune to a hand trap. We can then use the effect of Zagrado to tag into the Ixies. We're then going to use Zagrado to search Terminus. Terminus is going to send Junordo and add Medius. We're then going to normal Medius and then use it to add Vidolium to the hand. We're then going to scale Vidolium and then use Vidolium to summon back the Junora. We're then going to use Vidolium to search the Junordo out of the deck. We're going to scale. We're going to link into Beyond the Pendulum. We're going to trigger the Beyond the Pendulum and the Junora. Beyond's going to add back the Terminus, and we're going to search Shade. We're then going to pen summon our two monsters. We're then going to use Shade to bounce itself back to hand. We're going to use Shade to summon itself, and then we're going to use the effect of Junora to tag into the Junora. We're then going to trigger our Elf Note Power Patron. We actually get to use it this time, so this board gets the draw too, which is pretty nice. We're then going to Ixies our 2 level 10s into Varudross, and then we're going to use Medius' Grave Effect to shuffle back Beyond to summon the Medius back, and then make the Deactors Nigraflario into Doomsday Destruction. And just like that, we end on the same board as last time, just without Nerva, which isn't a huge deal, since we can just use Archmage Non-Finito to make Dragos Tapelia. So it's actually, like, the same amount of interactions, just we don't, in theory, have a board wipe, but that's totally fine. This is still a really, really powerful board. And this was through Droll. Like, they can't Droll us here. This is actually through a lot of different hand traps. This beats an Imperm. This beats quite a few things. Really strong stuff. And none of it's like a specific card you have to open in your hand outside of the specific starter of Vidria, or Medius gets you there as well. So it's really strong. Really great stuff. And that's been the guide. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to do with this archetype. I really, really love it. I'm super excited to play with them in the coming weeks. Hopefully I can get an in-person profile. Hopefully me winning locals with this deck. I think I can easily do it. Let me know if there's other versions of this deck you want me to show off. I'd love to show off like a Ryuge or a Valance or some other build of this deck for sure. There's a ton of different things you can do with these cards. So very excited to show it all off. Anyway, hope to see you all next time. Goodbye.